Welcome back to another Twin Flame podcast, okay? I am here with another podcast, message, whatever you want to call it, okay? And as usual, we're going to start this thing off with what my theory is, okay? And then we're going to get into today's episode, okay? So without further ado, my theory for the Blue Twin Flame journey connection is the journey to finding the Blue Twin Flame isn't about finding someone else. It's about becoming consciously aware of both your masculine and feminine energies, creating this alignment that leads to synchronicities and a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. And it's this awareness that acts as the core of what makes a Blue Twin Flame connection special. All right. So today's episode, we are going to talk about the twin flame and other people / archetypes. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's add my +1 on. Okay. 1 second. All right. I think we are all set up. All right. Now, here we go. Okay. So as I was saying earlier, so today's episode we're going to talk about the twin flame and other people / archetypes. Okay. So I put up on Google, I have right here what archetypes is, just definition. So archetypes are universal reoccurring patterns of behavior, characters, or symbols that appear across cultures and throughout history. They represent fundamental human experiences and motivations. In literature, archetypes can be recognizable character types like the hero or the trickster, or type or symbols like the serpent or the apple. In psychology, Carl Jung, depending on how you pronounce it, theory proposes that archetypes are innate, universal patterns residing in the collective unconsciousness. All right. So, with that being said, let's dive into it. And it's great that they mentioned Carl, because honestly, I just got I've heard the name before, but a lot of his stuff that he's saying relates to what I'm saying in a way, kind of. Oh, burp for confirmation. And I'm going to add him. I need to do some more research. We're going to add him to an episode. Let's slap him here. This gives me time. It's like a few months away. Okay. All right. So now, when it comes to the archetypes that I'm referring to, even though I'm still going to touch on what he touches on just a little bit, because I don't really know too much. But Blue Twin Flame versus other people. Okay, so, and I've mentioned this before, so a lot of this is just recapping. I'm just placing emphasis on whatever the episode is, because I know I repeat a lot of information. So, but just for starters, we're going to repeat this. We're all made up of energy. masculine, feminine energy. So with the blue twin flame theory that I'm referring to, the masculine energy is your thoughts. Is an example of masculine energy are your thoughts. When you think or have an idea, of feeling in your head, or you think about a feeling, you're thinking about someone that made you mad. That's a thought. Um, that's examples of your masculine energy. So if that's masculine energy, then what's feminine energy? Feminine energy is creation. And everything on this 3D world that you see was created. This phone you're watching me on, the internet, the background, my makeup, it's all created. So when you create, that's an example of your feminine energy. And your universe is your feminine energy. It's your universe. It's your perspective. This bubble that we're in, it's your perspective. So this is what you see is not just, mind, body, soul. We have the mind, which we said masculine energy, body. Your body isn't just limited to your body, but it's also your environment. And when you establish a connection with this, then that's when you start seeing synchronicities, because you're tuning into the non-physical aspect of yourself, which is the physical aspect of yourself, but they go intertwine. Like this is my yin and yang. Oh, here we go. Oh, bam, there you go. Look. Kind of looks like yin and yang, but they go, excuse me, yawn for confirmation, they go into each other. You can't have one without the other. The mind is in your body, the body is in your mind. Like it reflects each other. So when you align in your mind, reflects your body, meaning your universe, you start seeing synchronicities. Things might, some you think you might see on TV. Someone might say, like, but when you're aligned with these energies, and this is the main focus of the blue twin flame connection. But when it comes to other people, a lot of these archetypes follow you, because again, so we get caught up on the person that we fail to realize or place emphasis on the archetype of the person. So let's say for mom and dad is like the easiest ones. We all have mom and dads, but do you need a mom and dad to live? You need a mom and dad to be birthed or to get here. Yes. The mom and dad's your ticket here, but there's plenty of people who parents die, parents separate, never met their parents give them up for adoption. You don't, a lot of people that don't know their parents or their biological parents, but that doesn't stop them from having a maternal paternal energy in their life. And that, to me, in this theory, the maternal and paternal energies are an archetype. So when you get adopted, those are not your biological parents, but the universe still provides a masculine, feminine, or paternal, maternal energy. Those archetypes are still filled. I've said this before. If you're in a fraternity or sorority, your dean, your AD, it acts as that masculine, feminine, or that maternal, paternal. You got the person who gives the ideas, and then you have the person who makes sure you follow their ideas, like mom and dad. Dad is the head of household, dean is the head of the line. AD, assistant dean, same thing. When you have a president, vice president of an organization, same thing. You have the person who's in charge, and then you have the person who's under the person in charge that helps make sure that the idea or the ideas of the person in charge are being followed through. Dean, AD, president, mom, dad, like all those are archetypes, okay, that the universe provides. So you don't necessarily need a mom and dad for the universe to provide these archetypes. Same thing with the best friend. Have you ever had or a friend? Have you ever had a best or siblings? Same thing. Let's say you had a sibling, and then you go meet a friend, like, you know, you move away, and then that person you meet reminds you of your sibling. Or you ever, like, you know, a lot of people say you meet the same people in different bodies, you know, and for confirmation, you meet the same people in different bodies. But since we're all energy, the universe is still providing that same energy to you. So if I grew up with this certain friend and I move somewhere else and I meet another friend that reminds me of that old friend, that's the universe is still providing that same archetype of friend in my life. So that archetype, it follows. So that's what we're focusing on today is other people and the archetypes. So these are all examples of the archetypes. Now, when it comes to Carl Jung, and his archetypes, he places more emphasis on, and again, I'm just going to talk briefly on him, only because I would like to do, for confirmation, more research before I get to his episode, but his episode is down the road. But from what I looked up so far, he places emphasis on the masculine having feminine energy, like inside your head, which I totally agree, because let me tell you, that feminine energy, I've connected to her. You know, the divine feminine. I don't know if it's the same as the divine feminine, but I know I've connected to my divine feminine and talked to her, and, like, you know, the divine mother. And inside of women or females, there's a masculine, the Artema and Artemis. And these archetypes that he also talks about is like the trickster or the hero. Now, the hero archetype, let's say if someone is constantly battling between, you know, the good, the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do, you know, that's usually a characteristic of the hero archetype. So people have these archetypes also. The trickster archetype, let's say someone's always playing tricks, or they teach lessons or give lessons through the tricks that they provide. And I'm not saying trick as in something completely negative, but Anansi is the perfect example that I can think of. He has a lot of stories where he outsmarts or tricks. He's a trickster god, but he outsmarts a lot of the other gods and gets, you know, whatever he wants, you know, because he's a trickster god. And people who relate to that trickster god or who does the same things, and this is a lot in folklore as well, but people who does this or operate under, like, under this archetype, it's that archetype. So a lot of people have these archetypes as well. But just like Anansi can be a trickster, there's other Loki is another trickster. He's another trickster guy, but in a different folklore. Loki is, I know it's Asgard, but I don't know if Asgard is just Marvel or if he's considered a Greek god. I can't remember what type of folklore. Let's look that up. What type of folklore is Thor? Norse, yes, Norse mythology. Okay, I knew that. I just forgot. Thank you, Google. Thank you, universe. See, the universe, look, thanks to modern technology, it can help us out. And we can take advantage of it. We should not be scared of technology, because technology is here to help us, okay, to improve. So it's Norse mythology. So Loki is another trickster from Norse mythology, and then you have African mythology, which Anansi comes from. But they both are trickster gods, trickster spirits. So just like you can have that same trickster archetype in two different types of folklores or mythology, you can have that same trickster in someone else. A lot of times a younger sibling can be known as the trickster. I'm a trickster to this day. Like a lot of my parents, friends, family, they don't take me serious because I'm just always joking, you know. And I do have a connection to Anansi, but like I'm I'm a trickster, you know. Like it's just the archetype that I had. But like you can still grow into other archetypes as well, and then you can still inhabit or embody multiple archetypes. At least throughout time, you definitely do. So I'm trying to steer away more so from the trickster spirit, and live in my truth. So that's why I'm here, not here to trick or to anything. But just like you can have different folklores that embody different archetypes, people do too. So like I was saying, um, sometimes the younger siblings might be a trickster, younger brothers might be a trickster. You know, sometimes it might be the little kid down the block. He's not your brother, but he still embodies that trickster spirit. The bully, you know, like going back to the archetypes that I'm mentioning, more of like, you know, the skeptic, the bully, you know, the bad guy. You know, there's always something that these type of people are placed in your life to fulfill or for to do that. And then when you realize that, you stop taking some things personal because you realize that they're just there to fulfill that archetype to get you to where you need to be. Now, there's a lot of people, like for example, the bad guy archetype, or the villain. You know, some people aren't bad. Not everyone is bad. You know, people do bad things. Good people do bad things. Bad people do good things. But it just depends on what label you're placing on them. Now, if that evil person or someone who you consider to be the villain, they're the villain in your story, but when they go home, you know, if it's a boss, for example, that boss may be the villain in your story, but he's the hero in his story because he goes home and has a whole family and kids, and he's just doing his job. And he can separate his job from his family life because that's what he has to do, being the boss. That's what you have to do when you're placing, you know, when you place in roles of authority, you have to be able to differentiate between the two, between professional and business, or no, professional and social, or home, family, you know. So you can't carry on, you know, at both. Um, But just like you have those different archetypes, when you realize that you're not going to be offensive or take offense to what this person did because he's a villain in your story, but if you broaden and zoom out and look at the bigger picture and realize that he's just fulfilling his archetype, you know, like at the end of the day, like if you were late hella times and he fired you, you can't get mad at him. You're the one that was late all the time, but you needed to learn that lesson. He's there to teach you that lesson. That archetype is placed. The universe is placing that person, that archetype into your life for that reason. When you sometimes it's a stranger who can be filling the wise man archetype, you know, who gives you that advice, someone who you don't know. Like for example, that movie, They Clone Tyrone. Have you guys seen that? You know, put in the comments if you've seen that down below. But spoiler alert, I'm just giving the movie. I'm not telling the whole movie, but in that movie, Tyrone ran into this homeless man, and he would talk to the homeless man at different points of the movie, and the homeless man would give him different answers at different points of the movie. Excuse me. And at the end of the movie, when they found out that Tyrone was cloned at a different part of the world, there's another Tyrone who's talking to another homeless man. But there's the same homeless man, but they're in different parts. But that archetype, that is played by the same thing. Just like in movies, the characters, you know, we see the hero being played by different people. It's the same thing. You're the hero in your life. That doesn't make the next person not a hero in their life. They're fulfilling that archetype just like you are. And realizing this and applying this to the blue twin flame journey, because you realize we're all energy. We're all actors in this play called life. You know, so like, you don't take offense to certain things. Like, for example, parents, you know, they have to play the, not the know-it-all, but they teach you. And hindsight, we're all learning from each other. There's a lot that parents learn from us, but you learn lessons of life, and that's why children are placed in the parents' life, for them to learn that next phase or that next step of life that they need to. There's something that, you know, having kids, another conversation, but a lot of parents, they don't want to be, you know, they don't want their child to know that they don't know, or they don't want, some parents don't want to admit that they don't know everything. You know, they want to know everything, or at least want their children to think that they know everything. But they don't, you know. But like, that same archetype is still there for them to feel, or to feel. I think I did a good job at explaining this. I do have this card that I'm going to read. I had pulled for another reason, and it's just here, so I'm going to share this with you guys. It is no judgment. I release myself from any and all judgments. I find my inner critic, call it to my office, and tell it to take a vacation. As it leaves the room, I let out a sigh and begin to enjoy the joy of simply being. Who hired that guy anyway? Oh, this is so funny, because we were just talking about, you know, being fired. But yeah, firing that inner critic. But like, that inner critic, relaying that to this message of the archetypes, when that works perfectly. Okay, so the inner critic is the one that's taking offense to some of these things, because you're criticizing the people around you. But when you can understand, understand, and just stand on the fact that these are archetypes that people are feeling, that you're not going to take as offense to it. Pay attention to the message and not the messenger. And I've said that before in other videos. It's not about the person delivering the message, is about the message. So don't get caught up on, a lot of times someone might say something real and you get upset at what the person said because it was just too real for you to handle. And now you're upset at that person, but you're only upset at that person because of what they said. But pay attention to what they said. They're saying it for a reason. The universe placed that person into your existence to say that, you know. And I know I say the universe, but E, all the above. You can fill A through D with whatever you want, whether it's God, Most High, Yeshua, the universe. E, all the above. You know, it takes a village. So, and right now we're going to give thanks to E, all the above. You can fill A through D with whatever you want. And also, we're going to take this opportunity to give thanks. Okay? Hey, we're also going to take this opportunity to give thanks. No, we gave thanks. We're going to take this opportunity to take a breath. All day long, we breathe unconsciously for ourselves. But let's just take this moment to breathe for someone else who's no longer here, who we're no longer friends with, someone who's not even thinking about you. You know, just breathe for someone else. So right now, we're going to inhale, and we're going to exhale. All right. And with that being said, I'm going to end this right now. Thank you for watching. All right. If you haven't already, please subscribe, comment, and share down below. My YouTube. If you're watching this from Facebook, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be greatly appreciated. Lonue, the one exception. LONUE_THE_ capital ONE, capital XCEPTION, the one exception, and it's one E, between one and exception. E, all the above, one E. See how that goes? Like, how the universe works. I don't need to do it. Like, I'm just a puppet, okay? But yeah, so I love you, I love me, I love us, I love we, and I will talk to you guys in another episode. Bye.